right, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Globally, education is regarded as the most valuable treasure any citizen can acquire from any nation.
That's correct. And that is why the functionality of education is usually seen through the acquisition of knowledge, information, as well as skills and competence.
Vocational training, entrepreneurial skill acquisition, and artistic apprenticeship are related skills gaining system to prepare an individual towards job security.
And art education is believed to be very fundamental to Nigeria's creative economy. This is because art education is very entrepreneurial and has provided livelihood for many artists in Nigeria today.
So joining us here in our studios is Idowu Sonaya, Chairman, Society of Nigerian Artists, Lagos State Chapter, who will be shedding more light on the importance of art education for emerging economy development in Nigeria. Welcome and great to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here.
It's an honor having you.
Yeah.
Talk to us about this. How can we use art education to rejig the economy of Nigeria? Because if you heard the last interview, vast potentials in the art, but it looks as though we're not utilizing it.
Well, to me, art education is as important as life itself. It's like water that you take, and it's highly essential to every field that any human being find himself or herself. Because everybody has a kind of that creative aspect in them. So it will only come to the fore when it is gingered, when it is polished through education. But without the education aspect of it, we may just be groping in the dark, So first and foremost, I'm going to advise the people in charge of education to rejig the educational system. For instance, the science students are not allowed to do visual arts at the secondary school stage. And I believe this is depriving us a lot of benefits that we could have gotten from that sector. Because most of the developed nations you see all over the world, they apply this visual aspect into every phase of their lives.
Can you give us examples of nations that have applied this and they've utilized it effectively?
Yeah, when you look at the infrastructures in many nations that, in developed countries per se, let me say Britain, US, Japan, and the rest of them. They've been able to make use of the visual, potentials in their people to develop their countries. So we need to apply the same here in Nigeria to develop our own nation. Because without this, I don't think we'll go that far. Because we have a lot of infrastructure deficiency all over the country, even though we are trying, but we couldn't maintain the ones we have even been able to build. So it is that visual aspect that can really awaken the gene in us to be able to do the necessary for the country.
In a recent report, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and the National Endowment for Arts, the arts contributed $763.6 billion to the U.S. economy in the year 2015.
Correct.
It also employed 4.9 million jobs. Can the Nigerian art do that? And what is the absolute necessity that needs to happen for it to meet its potential?
Yeah. Nigerian art can really go beyond that. Because, yes, we can go beyond that. But the situation we have right now with Nigerian market and with the rest of African market is that we are only being able to claim less than 0.1% of the entire international art market. Why do we have that kind of system? Because everything boils down to education. Most of our people are still, let me call them art illiterates, visual art illiterate. They still don't value the visual art. They just see us as people that draw and things like that. And it's beyond that. It has its place in fashion. It has its place in science. It has its place in technology. Assuming Nigeria is producing cars, for instance, we need artists to come up with new designs, So these are the things that can really advance the nation. And when you talk about the core art market itself, we have the potentials in this country. They only need to be encouraged, to be patronized. And the government needs to do a lot in this area. I just heard that the CBN, created a kind of loan for people in the creative sector. Mm-hmm. And to our surprise, the visual artists are not there. Do you understand? The visual artists are not there. Even the people that they listed, still find it difficult to access the loan when you are supposed to provide 30% of the entire amount you need. If I need like 50 million, for instance, I have to provide, let's say, 15 million. If I have 15 million, I'll just start with my 15 million. And I'll move on with that.
Let's talk about the business of visual arts. We live in a world where we have seen the El Dorado of visual art, the likes of Pablo Picasso, the likes of Vincent van Gogh, the likes of Alberto Giacometti. Recently, his sculpture work is said to be the most expensive work of art in the world, cost $150 million on auction in Sotheby's. When are we going to see, and art is a big industry abroad, speculators buy arts, it's a store of wealth, it's an investment. Where are we going to see an art business ecosystem in this country? Let's talk about, and what is the position of the business of art thus far in this country? How viable is it?
Well, let me just let you know that presently we have some of our artists doing well, when it comes to the art market on the international scale.
Who are they?
We have the likes of Professor Ben Henwu. His works are commanding a lot of respect, a lot of income, to the business dealers, to have business dealers, in different parts of the world. And at the same time, we also have a young lady, Njideka Akunyele, Crosby, controlling so much in the U.S. And there's another lady that they just mentioned of recent. I can't really, remember her name right now. But, and all these are created a kind of, vista for the Nigerian arts to the rest of the world. So the focus is now on it, because the highest market in Africa, as it is still the South African art market, but the Nigerian art is taking the second stage. So we have to work together with the art dealers, with the art promoters, with the, art journalists and all sorts,
But some people still say that the Nigerian art is still relatively cheap compared to the rest of the continent. Why is this so?
Yeah, it is like that because over the years, Nigerian art is in the limbo. People don't really have much information about what we do. Some of our works, just by chance, they get to the international scene, before now. But now that the focus is now, on Nigerian art, we have the likes of Sotheby's coming to Nigeria to find out.
Sotheby's is here
now?
Yeah,
Sotheby's is coming to Nigeria. We have the likes of, Bonhams coming to Nigeria to really follow, Christie, to really follow up on, the potentials that we have in this country, So, and we hope that very soon, we also will be commanding a lot of prizes, over there,
For someone who is not so much an art enthusiast, I just want to be educated. How do you put monetary prize on an artwork? Because all you need to do is go to an art gallery, an exhibition, and you wonder the variance in prices. What informs the cost of an artwork?
Well, it varies from artist to artist. But for me, it has to, first of all, do with my experience on that job, because I put in so many years to learn that, to be able to come up with masterpieces. That is one. Then the second part is that what I went through during the job, during the process of creating that job, That is another part of it. And the third part is the ideology behind that work. The ideology, maybe a particular style that I do, which is unique compared to the rest of the work you see around, So those are the things that an artist will put together to be able to say, oh, this artwork is going for Suswama. And it has much more to do with the, let me say, the number of, the popularity at times of the artist. If the artist is a renowned artist who is known, that such a work will be commanding, some good prizes, So those are the things that inform. A renowned artist might sell a work for 1 million, while an upcoming artist who is not really known can do the same type of work and sell that work for, like, let's say 50,000. You can see that the gap is wide.
Yeah.
So that means sort of like...
it is the signature that matters here. It is the personality of the artist that matters here.
Another thing is that I want to talk to you about is how are we able to prevent art theft? I mean, I heard another renowned artist, Bruce Onopwe, recently was speaking about the fact that some of the speculators, they come to local galleries, buy our work for cheap, take it to the international market, and extend the price. I mean, hence that was how Tutu went out, because Tutu was missing after Tutu was first showcased in Festac 77, you get so
lately.
Yeah, it was another discovery
there's
lately.
another discovery
In the UK home.
In the US.
In the US.
Yeah.
Lately.
So, I mean, how do we guard against this? Because art theft is another big thing.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I call the business of the heart. You see, as an artist, you need to, know about the business of what you do, the business aspect of what you do. Because without that, you could be losing so much, without knowing it. You understand? So we need to equip ourselves with the necessary tools, that will let us know the value of what we do. So I don't just keep giving away your work, just like that. So first and foremost, you need to know what informs, like the question
We'll
you
go
asked
for a
me
quick
now.
break, and I'll double it up with a question when we come back. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. It's the last lap of the show today. We're still talking art. Art education in particular. Mr. Idowu Sonaya is still with us in the studio. He's the chairman of the Society of Arts, Nigerian Artists Lagos chapter.
Lagos chapter.
And you were discussing something before that break, and we had raised a lot of issues. And just before you come back there, I was going to ask what role your society is playing in bridging the gap, because you've talked about how important education is and what needs to be done. But your society, are you wielding that influence?
Yes. First and foremost, there's a program that we're going to have very soon in August at the Freedom Park in Lagos, yeah? And the program is an activity during SNA Week. We observe an annual activity called SNA Week, just to create awareness about the artists, about their work, and whatever they do. So this time around, we are focusing, zeroing in on the importance of education to an emerging economy. You understand? And we have invited the stakeholders, the Ministry of Education, in Lagos State, the Ministry of Tourism are going to be there, and some other related bodies, to look at what we can do to address all these issues. Because I would like to see, for instance, the curriculum of the secondary school student, or even primary school student treating art appreciation as a subject. I would like to see that, because that will help them from their tender age to be able to appreciate art. Because you find out that most of the people in power today, when you talk about art before them, they just see it as something, maybe a drawing or something Oluya came to. You understand? So it is beyond that. We want people to start seeing themselves. Even if you cannot draw or you cannot paint, see yourself as a creative person. So that creative aspect of you can ginger the creative sector.
Creative
Do you understand? Yeah.
In fact, so I just wanted to put two questions to you. Number one, I was thinking of, is it a possibility where you can have a directory so that every artwork made in this country is locked up in a directory so that you can pretty much track it, you can track the lifespan, where it goes and things like that, or there's a reportage, you are aware of every artwork produced in case of copyright issues in the future. And secondly, why is it that even in government parastatals, we don't have artworks by Nigerian artists?
Well, let me first of all answer your first, question. You see, when you talk about directory, it has to do more with accurate record keeping and things like that, tracking of works. We have the Lagos State Council for Art and Culture, and we also have the National Gallery of Modern Arts, and at the same time, we also have the National Museum. All these agencies put together, we need to come up with an artist registration council.
You don't presently have that?
No, we don't have an artist registration council, in this country. So the government needs to come up with artist registration council, and it is through this council that, artists can be registered with government, and at the same time, every work produced probably by a renowned artist, in quotes, can also be registered under that council with government, so that such work, the work of such an artist, can easily be traced by the government. And at the same time, because the work of an artist will outlive the artist, so that in the future, the government can protect the interest of this artist, and even the benefactor of the artist in the future, because most of the works being sold here, I just saw that, let me say, even the copyright law, as it is today, does not make provision for, let me say, loyalty. Royalty to the artist, after sales, commissions to the artist. Once you sell your work, that's final. Nothing comes back to you thereafter. Because the person that collects the work can still take it to a secondary market, and the artist is also entitled to a certain, is supposed to be entitled to a certain percentage at the secondary market. But it's not so with
because
us
I'm not sure Professor Ben got anything from the sale of Tutu. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure too. I'm not sure. I don't know about because I don't know if he has something to collect from the UK, but from Nigeria, nothing. Nothing. So I think our government should look at all this, so that we cannot fight the fight alone. We need the backing of the government to be able to talk on governmental basis. When an artwork is sold in the US, for instance, in the UK at a big market, there should be a follow-up by the council. Or if nothing is coming to the artist and the artist want to seek redress, you should be able to go to the council to complain. You understand? And if all these are done, it's going to help the business of arts, in Nigeria. It's going to help it a lot, because the way it is right now is like, once the work is sold, you are not getting anything back, and there's nothing coming back. I think the same is with music industry also. Once your work is produced, anybody can play it on there. Nothing comes back to you. Meanwhile, you should be earning your royalty for life. You
had a second question, Rufai.
The second question has to do with. Can you remind me? Can you remind me? The second question, I think you ask about.
Well,
Okay.
let's talk
Because you pretty much answered the second question,
yes.
you know, in
I
the first
pretty
one.
much answered you, right? Okay.
And you talked about appreciating art.
Okay.
And I think there's the art producers and the art consumers.
Yes.
While there seems to be a report in an increase in consumption of Nigerian arts abroad,
Yeah.
can we say the same thing in the domestic market? Are Nigerians appreciative of art?
Yeah. To some extent, I would say Nigerians are getting to appreciate the artists and the artworks they produce nowadays. But it is still not at the level that we expect it to be, because majority of our population are still art bereft. You understand? So we need to take it beyond that. We need to make use of the media to be able to promote the artist. We need the government support to be able to support the artists. Like the CBN policy now, it should be made to be more artist friendly. And we should also be included on that policy so that the artists can access the loan, you know, even at single digits. You understand? So, and the repayment period should be made favorable as well, you know, in order to support the economy. Because when you look at it, whether we like it or not, the artist has the capacity to make this nation a tourist destination. You know, for instance, Lagos, I don't see, we are also planning something with Lagos state government, you know, and we hope that they will buy into it. We want to be organizing a kind of visual arts festival, on an annual basis, where we can attract visitors from all over the world to come and see the festival of the visual arts. You can imagine how that would look like.
Very exciting.
You know, that is what we are looking at.
Very exciting. So, I mean, pretty much like we were saying before, why is it that government participants don't even have artwork in there? And, and you're pretty much surprised yourself.
That was the question.
But in wrapping up, what would you say about our artwork that has been taken away by the colonials, repatriation of our artwork? Recently, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, said most artwork taken out of Africa should be sent back to Africa. We all know the expert of Professor Wole Soyinka are going to get some of these artworks back. But some people in some quarters are saying, when you return the artwork, where are they going to keep them?
That's the problem. Well, thank you for that question. I think the government really need to rejig the crop of staff at our museums, you know, and galleries.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to put the round pegs in the round holes. So when you put the round peg in a square hole, you know, it becomes problem. We don't really have artists heading some of those institutions.
Okay.
In the first place, to start with.
Thank you so much. The conversation is open-ended. That brings us to the end of the conversation today. I'm Rafai Seni.
And I'm Adesuwa Omoran. Goodbye.